What's good, folks? This is Red Dirt Dialogues, and I'm here with the Joe Lopez. How's it going, Joe?
Dude, good to see you. Thanks for having me on, brother.
Hey, no problem, man. So, how's life treating you?
Uh, dude, I just had baby number 6
Number
a few
six. Woo.
a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I got 3 and 3, so 3 boys, 3 girls. So God's been real
Yeah.
good to me, man.
Nah, yeah, that's a blessing. Hey, I don't think I got the temperament for six. I have my mama's temperament. So the six kids, that's a blessing. I agree, I know the kids are blessed, but I couldn't fathom six. How do you do it?
You know what? I tell people on the day that I got married, if you would have told me that I would have 4 kids, 5 kids, 6 kids, I'd be like,
Yeah.
nah, man, I ain't the one. That ain't me. No, sir. You got the wrong one.
Yeah.
But I man, like obviously I love my wife, so
Hmm.
having kids came from, loving her first.
Yeah.
But after having each kid their own, individual and their own talents and their own just, you know, personalities and you love them and it's like, well, let's have another one. So when we originally got married, it was like, oh, we'll have 3 with
Hmm.
the 4th being an option. All right.
Yeah.
So we exercised the option for the 4th.
Yeah.
All right. And so then it was like, oh, we're good with 4.
Yeah.
And then there's a show Yellowstone. Have you ever seen it? Yellowstone?
I've seen a couple episodes.
All right. So this was around like COVID time.
Mhm.
And it was like it felt like we were all alone on an island kind of thing. But it was
Yeah.
I liked it because it was like, dude, I'm just with my favorite people. I'm a
Yeah.
I'm a homebody.
Hmm.
Like I'm a homebody. I like being home. I don't like even when it was like in my 20s, like I didn't like to go out and party. It's just like it was like
Yeah.
if you were like, hey yo, we're gonna go to the club, like I might go just so we can go and kick it. But I was like, dude,
Yeah.
like you can't even talk. Like I'd rather like go
Mm.
like invite me to the barbecue and then we can talk or like
Yeah.
watch the game. Like that's me. So when COVID hit, I
Mhm.
was like, man, I got these people who don't really agree with me because I was like, "Yo, I'm not. Don't tell me what to do. I'm not wearing no mask. I'm not doing none of
Mhm.
that stuff." Like, right?
Mhm.
Um, and then so I thought of my kids. It's like, well, they're gonna come into this world. They need more people who share our values.
Yeah.
So going back to Yellowstone, there was a he basically has one grandson and the possibility of like he found out his daughter couldn't have kids because of something one of his other kids did, so he's telling the son that did this thing to his daughter, he's like, now my grandson has to fight all these battles by himself. And I was
Yeah.
just like, oh yeah, man, like I want my kids to help each other, to have each other's back. And
Mhm.
so when I'm, raising them, that's kind of what I have in mind. Is like, hey, mommy and
Yeah.
daddy aren't always going to be here.
Mhm.
So you're gonna have each other. So
Mhm.
be good to each other. And I mean they fight because they're siblings and they're
Yeah.
gonna fight, but like you guys need to figure out how to work it out. So we had baby number 5, and that was just like a blessing because now like our kids were like we had our kids almost like back to back, like
Yeah.
every 2 years. So it was
Yeah.
just tough. And you're
Mhm.
just kind of like trying to get through it. But then when we had our 5th, there was kind of a gap. And so
Yeah.
the kids were older and it was amazing to see them respond to like actually having a baby. And it was like how
Yeah.
excited they were to have a baby. And we kind of have this thing too where it's like we kind of they're all kind of paired up. The reason that we didn't have 3 was because it's like one of them is always going to end up getting teamed up on. So we
Mhm.
kind of like we evened it out. So it's like we think
Yeah.
if there's 2, then four is better because like the likelihood that they'll gang up on each other
Mhm.
is less. And
Yeah.
then so when we had the 5th, it was like, well, now there's kind of an age gap.
Yeah.
This kid is now experiencing like like when this kid is 8 years old, the oldest is going to be like 20 or whatever, right? So it's
Oh,
just like
okay. Yeah.
it's going to be like they're it's going to be like, oh, that's not really like a sibling. So
Yeah.
they need to have somebody to kind of grow up with. So it was like, yo, we're gonna go for 6 now since we have
Yeah.
since we have it
Might
our
as
since we have
well.
5. So it's like we'll pair them up. So it's been awesome, man. So when we first tried for our 6th, we actually lost the baby,
Oh,
and so
my condolences.
that was really hard to kind of tell your kids like, hey, we were excited about the baby, and then we lost
Yeah.
the baby, and it was a boy, and so so I had 2 boys and then 3 girls, and the boys were they're pretty heartbroken
Yeah.
because they were looking forward to having a brother,
Yeah.
and so this one is a boy, and so they've been like through the roof, like always hugging them and kissing
Mhm.
them, and the girls are excited because it's like, oh, baby brother. So it's a lot of work, man. I'm not gonna say it's not,
Yeah.
obviously, but it's like, what else? What else? Like, I think about, like, if I was to, like, do something incredible, like found some tech company and go exit for $1 billion, like, all right,
Yeah.
that's all great, right? I'm not taking nothing away from that, but, like, what do I
Mhm.
really want to
Yeah.
make sure that I do with my life? And it's like, I wanna be a good husband and a good father.
Yeah.
Like, that like, the other stuff is good. Like,
Yeah.
I never want people to hear, like, don't accomplish stuff, especially as a man, because like, we
Yeah.
have to.
Mhm.
But, like, not at the expense of being a good husband and a father. I think it should be both. Kill it in business, make money, but be a great family man. And
I
be a
agree.
great family man first, because like, I think that if you get too much money and you don't have the character to handle it,
Yeah.
it's gonna
Come
present some
top of
challenges to you. So
yeah.
your character is really the foundation of everything.
So when you lost a child, how did you and your wife cope with that? Like, what was it like going through that with your wife?
Oh, it's hard. Like, we prayed, we were praying for a miracle. We believed for the
Yeah.
miracle. We named him Isaac, which means laughter. And I was like, yo, like, when this baby comes, like, we're gonna laugh about like what God did. And it didn't happen. And
Yeah.
then so you say like, oh, do I only praise God when like goes my way? No.
Mhm.
In the valley, I'll still praise you. On the mountaintop, I'll still praise you.
Yeah.
So in the conversations with her, like, it was hard. The first thing that we had to say is like, are we going to try again? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, can you do this again? And that was one of the things she had discussed. She's like, I can't go through losing another baby again. And so it
Understandable.
was like, yeah, right. And then also it's it, because we're older now.
Yeah.
So it's like, the possibility that something could go wrong again is like, well, yeah. And can we put that to the kids? Like, one of the hardest things I have ever had to do, man, is like, I had to tell my kids that we lost the baby. Like,
Yeah.
that was brutal, man.
Yeah.
Like, you think of like physical pain, and it's like, yeah, like, so I was having a conversation with somebody because I posted Tom Brady, I think it was his Hall of Fame speech talking about football and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And then one guy was like something like, oh, like, I don't want my kids to play football. And he's like, I don't see them get hurt. And like, there's truth to that. Like, 'cause I remember like, I played football for years. I wrestled. I did a lot of like physical stuff, and you
Yeah.
get hurt, and it's like, yeah, man, you like, that's part of like being a boy. But I remember the first time like my daughter was playing on the playground, and like, she fell and she got hurt, and she got like a busted lip, and like it hurt me and like my heart in a way that it was like, yo, this
Yeah.
sucks. Like,
Yeah.
like, you get bumps and bruises like yourself, and you're just like, yeah,
Mhm.
man, whatever. But you see your
Yeah.
kid, like, your little baby is just like, oh my gosh, like,
Mhm.
I'm heartbroken over this. Like, I never want
Yeah.
anything bad to happen to you ever in the world. Like, I just want
Yeah.
you to wrap you up in like, a bubble, so
Mhm.
all it is just good for you.
Mhm.
um but like, that's just, I'm kind of losing my thought here. But going back to that conversation, is like, we just had to talk about it. It's like, what do we think that God wants?
Yeah.
Do we want to try another baby? Are we trying for a boy? And it was
Mm.
like, every kid that we had, it was, we weren't trying for a boy, we weren't trying for a girl, we just wanted another baby. Now whatever God gave us was all right. Like, well, we're gonna love on this baby. So we had to have conversations with our kids, especially like the boys. It's like, hey, this could be a girl. So because
Yeah.
we never found out the gender of the babies until they were born. So we never, like, the ultrasound, we'd always tell them like, yo, like, no, we don't want to know the gender. So we'll find out when this baby arrives. And so like the boys be like, "Hey, baby brother." And it's like, "Hey, like I know that you want a brother, man, but
Yeah.
this could be a girl, so don't be upset of if that's the
Yeah.
case." Um,
So how? Wait a minute. How do y'all? So if you don't find out the sex, how are y'all preparing? You just get the basic diapers and stuff. What
yeah,
about the?
yeah.
You don't
I mean, they
color
don't.
coordinating.
Nah, man.
Yeah.
Like a baby needs diapers. You get some
Yeah.
onesies, and then like
But
you
the
could do
clothes and stuff.
some yellows. I mean, you can get clothes anyway. And plus,
Yeah.
by that time, no, we had gotten rid of most of the boy clothes already because
Yeah.
it's like you try to get rid of it. They're older.
Yeah.
But it like for us that wasn't like maybe like that was a consideration when like we had our first or our second. It's like, oh, we want to have like the crib ready and the room ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now it's just like, no, let's just have the baby and then we'll figure out like we'll get clothes later. It's just so it's not like for us it wasn't that big a deal. The big thing was just having names.
Yeah.
So I had to come
Yeah.
up with, had to
Yeah.
come up with boy names and girl names. And so for one of my kids, uh we couldn't think of any girl names.
Yeah.
And it was like, dang man, like we have no girl names. And
Mm.
luckily, like he was a boy, so I was like, oh, but it was like we was like impossible for us to think of a girl name. So it was
Yeah.
like, yo, we're like, I don't know if we dodged a bullet, like like
Yeah.
you come up with a name, but like oh, I was like we were like, oh man, thank God that one worked out because we couldn't think of it. We couldn't think of a name. But also when we name too, we don't just name like I'm gonna name them this name because it sounds good. Like I'll look up the meaning of the name
Yeah.
because to me that's very important. Of like
True.
when I say my kid's name, that I'm saying something that
Mhm.
is like speaking into life into their life. So it's very
Yeah.
important to me.
Yeah, I think the name's important, and I don't want to knock anybody's names how they name their kids, but yeah, sometimes you hear a name and I'm like, did you even think, or
Yeah.
like, what does that even mean? It's weird because it seems like for most of history, people gave people kids names
Mhm.
that meant something. You know what I mean? But I don't. I think we're losing that.
I think like, this kind of came. I remember my wife had a friend, and her name was Mara, and
Yeah,
Mara means bitterness.
yeah,
And she was, like it kind of came across, and it's like, like I don't think they were even believers or anything, but it was just one of those like, oh, okay, I'm gonna pay attention to this, and like
yeah,
your kids mean a lot to you. I mean, if you're, yeah, like if your kids mean a lot to you, it's like I'm gonna think about this stuff, and it's just one of those things I think about like my kids. Like I thought about my kids, like my wife and I when we were dating. Like, we talked about kids, and so,
yeah,
like, one of the first things that she said to me when we were dating, she's like, "Oh, I think you're gonna be a good dad," and it was crazy to me because I was, teenage boy, but,
yeah,
like, that she saw that in me was like, "Oh, yeah," but I always knew I wanted to be a husband and a father, and, like, if anything, like, if I was gonna be one, I wanted to be a good one. Like, you always
yeah,
hear that too, right? Like, if you're gonna be something, like, why might as well be the best. I might as well
yeah.
be the best son, and then
So, what do
so
you
it's
think
like
that? Go ahead.
no, that was all I
I
had to
was gonna
say.
say, so what do you think that drive, that inspiration came from? Like, what motivated you to say, "Nah, if I'm gonna be a dad, I'm gonna be the best dad there is, or best,
I
best dad
think,
you can be."
I think, we're before we got on, talking about sports,
Hmm.
and that so the sports culture, I think, had a
Yeah,
big impression on me. I started playing when I was in, junior high, and before that, before I started playing football, it was just kinda like I was getting kind of like I was kind of a fat kid up to that point because there was just nothing to
yeah,
do,
mm,
and it kinda gave me some purpose and some structure. And
yeah,
then there was just like other boys, and you just like you'd hear what the coaches have to say, but I don't know. I just think football culture in general is really good for boys, because it helped me like all of my friends that I made. Like once I kind of experienced success there, it was like, oh, like this is what it's like. But also, it's not even about like the success. I just think like I always tell people like in the football locker room, there's three currencies. It's like, can you ball? Do you work
hmm,
hard? And are you
yeah,
funny? If you're one of
yeah,
those
yeah,
three things in a football locker room, like
yeah,
you'll get along with people. If you have all
Yeah.
three of them, then you're like you're the big man on campus, you're the champ. But if you have one of those, at least one of those things, like like people in the football locker room will rock with you. Like you could be lazy, you could suck, but if like dude has jokes, it's like like he can be around.
Yeah.
If he sucks and he's not funny, but he works hard, like respect. Like he works hard. He's in the weight room. He's he runs hard. So people guys respect those things. I don't know if they respect comedy, but dudes love like dudes who can make them laugh.
Yeah, they had. I only had two. I had the funny, and I had a little talent. I had enough to get through high school, and so that kept me around. And people,
you didn't work hard.
I didn't. I'm not like at the time I thought I worked hard. I thought I was like, no, I'm doing everything because it used to piss me off because the coach would always be on my head about. They'd be like, "You're not working out," because they would see me talking and joking. So it's like I was the one that like they'd always catch me when I'm telling the joke and standing around. So they never saw me working out. But when it was time to max out, my max always went up. So they'd be looking at me like because I remember I think it was my sophomore year, and so they had 350 on the bar, squat, and I was still skinny then. I was real skinny, and the coach was like, "You can't do this." I was like, "Yes, I can," because I had been working with my buddy AJ. Me and him, we like do things our own way. And I just remember going down there squatting it, and, boom, went down, locked it out, went back up, and then the coach looked at me crazy, and I was like, "I told you." I want to tell him like just like let me do me. I'm gonna give you the results. I'm the same way at work. Like once I learn how to do it, it's just like let me do me. You'll never have to worry about me. I'm not gonna work and get anybody hurt, and I'm gonna get you the results you asked for, and maybe even a little bit more. But don't try to alter the way I do things. And so I had a bit of a rebellious phase, and that's what it made me lazy. I can't even lie to that.
Yeah, I hated players like that, man. It was like, do what because I'm kind of controlling, especially on the football. Like when it came to football, I was like, no, you need to do it this way because like if you do it this way, and especially if you had talent, like especially if you were like, so we'd have kids who were like funny and talented. It's like you're the Pied Piper. So it's like you can get away with this, but then the guy over here with no talent, he can't get away with it.
Yeah.
So like, I need you to be on board because not because I'm worried about you, but I'm worried about him.
Well, see, the thing with me is I have to be told that we didn't have like I hate to knock my coaches. I love y'all. If y'all see this, I still love y'all. But I'm the one like you can't just assume I know that. I have to be told. I just do. I have to be told, or I don't know. And if like I'm told stuff like that, then I'm like, oh, it clicks for me. But if they weren't the type, they were the type who's like, oh, you just get like they weren't really coach. Like my friends now they coach. I've seen them coach, and like they are really invested in those kids' lives. But our coaches back then, they weren't really invested in our lives. They were just like we were just the ends to them. Yeah, we were just the ends to them. I don't even know if they were trying to win because not all the best players were always on the field. It was there was a little money being passed around, to get people on the field. It's one
really that's crazy.
No,
it's Georgia.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like coach come out with a new truck, or somebody
like that. We had a conversation about if it was like Texas, but I mean that's kind of crazy. Hey, the guy from Two-A-Days, he was over at Hoover in Alabama. I think he ended up over in Georgia.
Gainesville. Yeah, he's at Gainesville. They're gonna be. They didn't. I think they got knocked out. Maybe the second round of playoffs this year. They went to the state and lost in state the year before. I went to watch that game, but they're gonna be nice. I think they were undersized. I didn't get to watch a lot of the games, but I think they were just there was some missing pieces. They were undersized. But
are you gonna let your sons play football?
I want them to. I'm not gonna force them to do anything. But like I saw a buddy of mine. He's training kids, and I told him like my son played baseball 2 years ago. He didn't want to play last year, and we didn't have him do it this year. So I'm just like, man, we just need to get him outside. But I told a buddy of mine, I was like, hey, I'm gonna have you train him. He don't even play sports. I was like, but I'm gonna just have you do that to get him active. And if he likes it, he likes it. But they got to do something. They're gonna have to do something. They have to be part of some team, somewhere, because like you said, there's things you learn in football that you probably won't learn anywhere else. Like
Mhm.
you learn to get hit in the mouth. You learn to
Yeah.
hit somebody else in the mouth.
Yeah, yeah,
You learn
yeah.
like get back up when you've been hit. It is camaraderie, like you said. I've been friends with a lot of guys since high school, and then they still
Mhm.
don't even call me by my last name. I mean my first name. They still call me by my last name.
Lucas, yeah, it's like
Yes.
Lopez, yeah, yeah, like yo, bro, like we've been out of this for a while, like
Mhm.
still Lopez, or your number too, right? Like
Oh yeah,
depending on, yo, 5'6", like, man,
yeah.
that's been a long time ago, bro. Come on, man. I'm gonna I have a conversation with my boys, and
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you guys are gonna play football. They're like, ah, I don't want to play football, and I'm the type that it's like I've gotten to a point where there's certain things like I
Mhm.
want them to have fun. So like I put them in swimming. Why?
Yeah.
Because I want them to be Michael Phelps? No, because I need you to know how to swim. There's a lot of
Yeah.
pools here. So like this is a safety thing. So you're
Mhm.
gonna do this even if you don't like it. Why? Because this is for your own good. I put them in jujitsu. Do I want them to be, UFC fighters? No, I just
Mhm.
want them to be able to defend themselves. So they
Yeah.
do it even though they don't want to. Because there's certain things like about me that so I'm very good at I'm very good at making money. The management issue, the stewardship issue was an issue for me. Why? Because it
Mhm.
was boring to me. It was like, yo, the
Yeah.
making is the fun part. The
Mhm.
management is the boring. And it's just
Yeah.
like, no, like you don't get to now put that aside just because you don't like it. Like,
Yeah.
I like, to me, like, counting numbers and stuff like, "Yo, that sucks." I don't like it's like, no,
Yeah.
I have to I have to reframe my identity. It's like, no, I'm a creator and a steward. This is how
Mhm.
God made me. God when someone the so I kinda hate this, but because it's like one of those things where it's like, okay, you get convicted, right? So
Yeah.
when Jesus does the miracle of the fish and the loaves, right?
Yeah.
There's an abundance of fish left over, and there's
Yeah.
abundance of bread left over, right?
Yeah.
What do they do after that?
Trying to remember. They put it in
Th
baskets, right? And they
They
bring it with
collect
them,
it.
right?
They
Yeah, they
collect it,
collect it.
right?
Yeah.
That's a stewardship thing. So for me, I'm
Yeah.
like, that's good. Like, you just
Yeah.
leave it. Like, yo, like
Yeah. I don't
that's a
wanna carry all that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have to like count like because and then it even says it's like there was like 12 or 15 basketfuls, right? So they knew
Yeah,
how
yeah.
much was left. That's a
Yeah.
stewardship issue, right?
Mhm.
So it's like, now I got 6 kids. Like like what I was able to get away with when I had 2 and 3 kids, I can't get away with that now.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, cause you go to a higher level. It's like like you go from in high school, you could get away with certain habits because you were athletic, you were more talented. But as you
Yeah.
move up to college, now it's like, well, now you're rolling with the big dogs.
Mhm.
Those habits that you had then that you were able to get away with then, now you're exposed. So you got to work
Yeah.
on that, even if you don't like it, if you want to stay here. And if you're gonna make it to the highest levels, well, now like everybody's got talent. Your
Mhm.
habits your mindset and your habits is what's going to separate you.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, yo, all right, like, all right, God, I hear you. Like I'm kind of like Jonah. I was like, I don't want to do that one though. I was like, all right. So yeah, like that. So that's kind of like my approach with my kids is you're gonna do some things because like dude, their life is easy, right? Like
Yeah.
if you think about it, your kids life is easy. Like I can buy them what they need. Like
Mhm.
they live in a comfortable house. Like they eat good food. Like
Mhm.
their life is easy. Like where is it going to be hard? Like I have to make it hard on purpose for
Yeah.
them. And for me, like football is that. Like yo, like uh like there's not a lot of neighborhood kids, so there's
Mhm.
not gonna be, like, neighborhood squabbles and fights or, like, where they have to, like, test themselves, so you have to, like, put them
Yeah.
in places where they're gonna have to be tested in a controlled environment, and, like, I want
Yeah.
that for them, and going back to, like, I don't want them to get hurt, obviously, like, I want them to be safe, but I need them to be tested because,
Yeah.
I can't fight their battles for them, they have to fight their own.
Yeah.
And well, obviously, I'll support them and stuff, so it's not like they're alone. But like, I think that's a big thing with boys is there's no can I handle this? I don't know. Like, why are these boys so anxious? It's like, well, they don't know what they can handle. We're not preparing them.
Yeah.
Who's the guy? I think he's over in King Randall. He has
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
boys
Kings
school.
Randall. Yeah.
I think it's amazing what he's doing because he's over there like he's teaching these boys how to change tires, how to like
Mhm.
change their oil, and how to fix stuff like that. Like that, I think is a big part of it. I didn't grow up handy, so that was
Yeah.
something to me. It was like, man, that would have been super helpful to know how to fix stuff. Like
Yeah.
and like because obviously like the physical part, like I got a lot of that because like sports was important, but like that
Yeah.
other part I think was missing. So it's like when you think of like, oh, like how do I want to prepare my kids? That's part of it too.
Yeah. Because I'm like, even now, I'm learning stuff that I'm like. Last week was my first time using a chainsaw. I've never used one.
Mhm.
I like where we were. I learned how to cut grass, but I didn't know how to do a lot of stuff. I've been
Mhm.
baling hay. I've been doing all
Mhm.
kinds of work that I never learned. My dad, he didn't teach me. My mom taught me how to change a tire, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of stuff that you would expect to learn growing up that I just don't have, and like I'm trying to learn them so I can pass them on to my kids, like you said,
Mhm.
and make them ready for this world. Because I was telling a friend of mine, I'm like, we try to protect our kids too much from danger, and we give them a shield and we give them a shield and send them out into the world instead of giving them a sword. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
So like when you teach them, you can't just keep them like secluded in a church the whole time,
Mhm.
and then put them out there in the world without a sword, and all they got is
Mhm.
all they got is the shield. They never had any experience, so you got to I think giving them the experience is the sword, and you teach them how to battle it. Don't teach them how to run away from
Mhm.
life and the things that come with life and the things of the world, but teach them how to battle it and be that light so they can make a difference once they come into contact with people who don't have that. You know what I mean?
What are some of the things that you guys do to kind of reinforce that?
Well, first I'm changing it in myself. There's some flaws I've seen in myself. Like how you mentioned that the stuff it's the stuff you don't want to do, and you're like, I don't want to do
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
I've seen that in myself because like I'll go back to like um this was another conversation I had where like guys I used to work with, they used to call me lazy, and I didn't understand it because I was getting my work done. Like I told you, if you give me a thing, I'd get it done. And I'm like, how am I lazy? And it finally came to I think around 2020, like just being around COVID and stuff. I realized I'm like, oh, it wasn't that I wasn't doing the work; it's that I was capable of doing more, and I wasn't doing more. That's the where
Mhm.
the lazy part came in.
Mhm.
So I've
Mhm.
seen in myself, and I'm still working on it. Where like if I'm able to do something, I'm trying to force myself to do stuff, even if it's making me uncomfortable. And so when I see that in my kids, I'm trying to I try to be open with them and tell them sometimes you don't always verbalize it correctly, but I try to let them know, hey, this is what you need to do and why you need to do it. Like I don't always try to let them do what they want to do, just because I
Yeah.
know that's not how life is going to be,
Yeah,
especially once you move out of
so
the
it's like
house.
it's like a just enough attitude. Like I'll do just enough.
Yeah,
Whereas like so like if you go back to like football, right? It's like, well, I
yeah,
went to practice today. It was like, yeah, so did everybody else,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Everybody went to practice.
yeah,
What else did you do? So it was like after practice, like, yo, did you get in the weight room? Did you
hmm
run the hills? Did you run your gassers? Did you,
yeah,
you know, that's that's where that's where the talent is thing. And that I think that if like if anything could really like bothers me, that's like what for me, it's like don't I don't want to come to the end of my life and like God be like, oh, you could have done all this stuff and you didn't. And like
yeah,
that would be heartbreaking to me.
yeah. Which is why I started the podcast because this has been
Yeah,
like
which I love, by the way, man.
yeah. YouTube has been on my mind for all right, I'm 36, 15 years, and I'm just now getting started. And the podcast has been on my mind for 3 years.
Mm.
So like, and I, I tell people like, when they ask, how sometimes people like, who do you relate to more in the Bible? Who I'm like Jonah,
Mm.
because
Yeah.
he got told he needs to do something, and I just
Uh,
ran from it. Like,
uh-huh.
something you need to do. I'm like, I want to do. I'm gonna go this way. Like, and I've been doing that for 15 years.
Dude, I think I might have done a thread on Jonah because that's how I
Oh
felt.
yeah.
Yeah. So like I originally wanted to be like in like business. I had my real estate license and like, I work at W2 and I was like, oh, I want to be
Yeah.
in real estate. I want to flip houses. I want to do that stuff. and then once we started having kids, like it became too much, so I just kind of focused on the 9 to 5. But like people would come to me and they'd be like, oh, like, talk about their marriage and stuff like that, and I'm like, man, I don't want to talk about your marriage, man. Like, I'm trying to do this over here. Like, God, I'm trying to be over here doing this. This is where the money's at. So I want to do this. But people just keep on coming to me about like marriage and like, yo, like I'm having trouble and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, I don't want to talk to you. Stop with that already. So you gotta keep on sending me people to like talk about the marriage. Like, I don't want to talk to you, man. I'm trying to flip house. I'm trying to do this over here. And then so that was for me. It's like I don't want to talk to these Ninevites.
Yeah,
talk to them, man. I want to try to be over here talk to them. Like they got their stuff together. Like, this is who I want to talk. Not the guys I don't have their stuff together, but it was just like it wasn't the audience that I wanted to be talking to. Because I was like, yo, I don't want to be talking about this. But then it would just like keep on happening. And finally I was like, all right, God, like this is who you want me to talk. And then like, I went through the struggles in my own marriage, and that was kind of eye-opening. It's like, oh, okay, like even though we were good, it could not be good quick if you like, if you go down some bad habits, it could not be good. And so now, like that I've embraced it, it's like, oh, like, yeah, these are my, like, this is who I want to talk to. I want to talk to men. Why? Because like if we look at if we look at the dating scene, it really is a function of a lack of leadership from men. Like women, like if 2020 taught you anything, it's that women are very influenced by repetition, and they have like it is for their physical safety to get along with whatever everybody else is doing. Because it's dangerous for them not to. Right. Like I remember telling my wife, I think we talked before, like I would go in the store and I would not wear a mask. And I would be like, yo, you're not telling me what to do. And then I would tell my wife, yo, don't wear a mask. And she was like, Joel, you're 6'3". The world responds to you a lot different than me, who's 5'6", and I have the kids. Like I'm not trying to get into a confrontation. And I was like, oh yeah. Like, so it's part of them, like survival is that they need to get along with whatever but everybody else is doing. For a man, you could be like, no, man, like I'm standing on business. I saw a Drewski skid, so that's all my slang is from like the 90s. But I found when he started saying standing on business, like, oh, I like that one. So I thought trying to throw that one. I want to stand on business now, son. So yeah, really is like a woman wants to be cultivated, and she wants to follow a man who is godly, who is successful, who basically has character. We talk about they talk about all this high value man stuff. It's like, how you can be high value when you're spiritually bankrupt?
Exactly. So what would it be a high value man in your eyes, if you had to say?
All right. So if you go back to Genesis, so this is actually one of my courses that I put guys through. Okay. If you go back to Genesis, before Eve steps on the scene, God is talking to Adam. The first thing that he gives him is he puts him in Eden. Eden is the garden, right? But Eden is not a physical place. It was his presence. Eden means presence. So a man has to be in God's presence. The next thing is he gives him work. We think of work as our like job, but it's our gifts that we have that God has given us to do our work. That's why when like you're at work, your job, and you're just like, dude, this sucks. Like, because you're not doing what you were supposed to be doing. You're like a fish out of water. A fish wants to swim. Birds want to fly. So when you're doing your work, it's that thing that's like, I could do this forever. And it's like, just like clicking for you. Like that's your work because you're in your gifting. This is why when singers are singing, like, and teachers are teaching, like they're like, this is the best. So it's being in your work. The third thing is to cultivate. He was to cultivate the garden. Cultivate means to improve, to impart culture in, to make it better, to get a return on it. So cultivating yourself, and if you're like in a, not married yet, cultivating your girlfriend. And when you're married, cultivating your wife. Your wife has talents and goals and dreams too. Cultivating those things for her. The fourth thing, he was to keep and protect. So the garden was his. So whatever came into the garden was his to keep and protect. It was his responsibility to protect Eve and it was his responsibility to understand when the serpent comes in that that was a threat.
Yeah.
And he didn't that. So I think that was where one of the breakdowns is. And the fifth thing he gives him is his word. He says you can have any of the fruits in here, but you can't eat from the tree of good fruit, the fruit of the tree of knowledge.
Yeah.
So those are the five things that a man needs to have.
Yeah.
And then after God gives him those things, then he presents Eve. So before he gives him Eve, or he presents Eve, those are the five things. So being in God's presence. That to me, like whenever I struggled in my marriage, I was always out of God's presence.
Yes,
Like
yes, yeah.
and then if I look at guys who I've worked with where their marriage didn't make it, when they were dating and they were going through that whole courtship, they weren't in God's presence. They were having sex, they were drinking, and it was like, I didn't know how she turned out this way. It's like, yo, like your eyes were closed because you were not in God's presence. Like imagine having like this amazing counselor and you can just talk to him and be like, hey, what do you think? And not like think of like if you were a football coach, who would you want to talk to? You just like, oh, I want to talk to Nick Saban, I want to talk to Bill Belichick. Imagine if you had access to them and you'd be like, you know what? I'm just gonna go and draft this guy over here without talking to them about like what they think of this player, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what being in God's presence is like so important, because it's just like these things warn you. God can warn you, like, yo, like there's some habits that this woman has that are not good if they continue down this path, or she has great character. She might not be the one who looks like whoever the hot person is, but this is a woman you can build with and will build your family with. Like be aware of those things. So I think to me it comes down that first one is the most important, and you can't fake it. Like just because you're in church doesn't mean you're in God's presence, in my opinion. Like there's lots of people who can go to church and like that's all they do. Like they're like, bro, like you live a different way once you're out of the building. To me, church is all the time. Like this little chair I have right here, that's my worship chair. I'll put my worship music on, and this is my worship. Like I worship in the car, worship everywhere. But like in the morning, that's where I worship. I'll read my Bible right there. I'll sit and worship. My kids will come in. It's like, oh, you want to sit in Daddy's lap? Like, yo, this is what we do. This is how we do it. We worship.
I like that. I was gonna ask you too. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot to mention. Joel is the captain, the president of the Wife of Sexual. You need to tell the people what the Wife of Sexuals are, and just explain that a little bit.
Yeah, so I came out during Pride Month like 3 or 4 years ago as a wife of sexual. It's just men who basically can't get enough of their wives. Like enamored with that booty. I can't get enough of it. Like I want it all the time. So those are the wife of sexuals, man.
Yeah. No, I like it too, because even Christian men, I know they're afraid to talk about sex, even though sex is it's God ordained. Like it's a good thing. I think we've been programmed to think of it as a dirty thing. Like no, in its proper context, it's the most beautiful thing there is. And God created pleasure. He created it for more than just there's pleasure, reproduction. There's pleasure in it, and he created your wife, man. Enjoy her, not just
Yeah, I think that goes to a lot of things though, like the pride rainbow. That's the symbol of a covenant. That's ours, right?
Yes.
God created sex, but we've given away to porn, where now that's what the context is. We even say like, oh, like that's food porn, or this is like I don't know. They'll just use porn as like, oh, like that's a sexy thing, where it's just become kind of a acceptable. The other one, like this one just came to me, like meditation. Right. So to me, meditation is like, oh, that's for like hippies and like new age stuff. Like, no, that's ours.
Yeah.
These are things that are ours, but we've let other people take them and misconstrue them. These are the things that this is for us, the believers. The rainbow is ours.
Yeah.
Meditation is ours. Sex is ours, but we're letting other people talk about it like it's theirs. No, the proper context for sex is within marriage. God said it was good, and he made it. Like don't go ahead and start twisting things. So what we'll do is we'll start adding or taking stuff from what God said to create our own thing. And so one of the scariest things I've read in the Bible, because I'm pretty like I'm a big college football fan. I've been a
Yeah.
believer my whole life, but one of the scariest things is the traditions of man could make the word of God null and void to me, which is
Yeah.
tremendously scary. So that means my culture, like
Yeah.
I'm Mexican, like we have traditions that could nullify the word of God. I'm a guy from LA. There's things that just from the time that I'm born, the place that I'm born, there's traditions that could nullify the word of God. Even
Mm-hmm.
things that were were in the church. And to me, that was a very scary thing. So that's why for me, it's like, God, I just want what you want. Let me
Mm-hmm.
do what let me do. So sometimes I'll say stuff that's crazy. I'm like, I don't know, Lord, but I'm sending it. All right.
Yeah.
Let me just send it. But to me, that's that was one of the scary, like, cause it's like, yo, like, I don't want to nullify what your word says. Like,
Mm-hmm.
cause you think like, well, God said it, like you can't stop it. It's like, no, your tradition can stop it. Like God can
Mm-hmm.
want to move in your life, in my life, in these people's lives, but we can stop it because of the traditions or the ideas that we have that aren't in alignment with God. We could stop what he was doing. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's basically what the Pharisees were doing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and then they were, and in turn, you end up breaking God's laws, and then you end
Mhm.
up like what did he say? He said, "I require dang it, dang it,
Obedience, not
I'm done.
sacrifice.
Obedience, not sacrifice." And they were just
Mhm.
you they neglected. They didn't have they had the word of the word, but I mean, but they didn't
Mhm.
have the heart of it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Which I think, which is dangerous too. I see a lot of people like, yeah, they know the word and they can tell it, but I'm like, there's no love. There's no love for the laws behind
Mhm.
what you're saying. So
Yeah, I
it's
think it's in like Corinthians or something like. So
yeah.
I'm not a Bible theologian. I'm a dude. I always tell people it's like, yo, I'm not a pastor. I'm not a theologian. I'm a dude that
Mm,
loves God. Okay, I'm a
mm,
regular dude that loves God. But I think it's like in Corinthians where it's like something about if I could speak in tongues, if I had the voice of angels or whatever, but I have not love, like
yeah.
that whole section there, like that's it, like loving people, which I could probably do better at. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. Like sometimes you just want you want to just smoke people. I
Mhm.
think that's part of like the football part of me, which is like, yo, I just want to
Yeah.
crush this sucker. You're like,
Yeah.
yo, like yeah. So I have that for sure, but I wanted to go back to the wifosexual thing. So
Yeah.
when
Yeah. Go ahead.
when I struggled in my marriage, it was because I started paying more attention to like money and like the stress of life, of kids and stuff like that. So I wanted to like aim my attention back to being the guy that I was when I dated her, to give
Yeah.
her that effort. So when I was dating my wife and I were long distance. She's from Northern California, I'm from Southern California. So this is back in like the 90s too. So it's like
Yeah.
things are different. So like it was like a 5-6 hour drive. I didn't have any money, so like we didn't see each other for like months at a time. Okay, that was kind of like our normal. Like I would get a phone call a week. Like
Yeah.
your cell phones, like you had like anytime minutes, or you had like
Oh
you pay
yeah.
like long distance. So it wasn't like you could just like call and like talk forever or FaceTime. Like we had dreamed about those things. But I remember it was in the summertime. I decided I think we were like in the middle of fall camp and I hurt my knee and like I couldn't do anything, so there was no school and I couldn't practice or anything. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna go see my wife. And I had this like 98 Pontiac Grand Am, or it might have been like a 96, and it would overheat, right?
Mm.
So I was driving up in the summer. It was like 105. You know, it gets hot in LA. It was like 105, and I'm driving with the heater on so it doesn't overheat so fast. So it took me like 12 hours. It
Yeah.
took me like 12 hours to make that 5-hour drive. And
Let me pause
now
it. You hear
what?
that, ladies? If a man really wants you, he'll make a way. I'm just saying,
Yep, yeah,
because
heaven
men
and
are,
earth.
because yeah,
Mhm,
men are hunters. We desire stuff like that, and like you knew what you wanted, and you was
mhm,
willing to even a 5 hour drive. I see dudes online won't even go 30 minutes or an hour drive
mhm,
for a girl. But
mhm.
go back into your story, man. I
Yeah,
didn't mean to.
but no, that's true. I'd move heaven and earth for her. Like that was it.
Yeah.
I'd move heaven and earth to be with her. I just wanted to be in her presence. I just wanted to like hear her, smell her, kiss her, touch her. Right.
Hmm.
So I make that 12-hour drive, and now here we are married. this is the woman that I prayed for. I was like, oh man, like because we went through some hard times when we were dating too, and we kind of overcame those things. And it was just like, now I have this woman. She's married to me. She's faithful. She's all the things that you could want. And I'm over here, like she's asking me to take out the trash, and I was like, nah, I'm watching the game. Like it's like, when did that happen? The guy that would, drive 12 hours, like he would dunk on you right now. Like he's outworking you. Like the kid is outworking you, the man,
Yeah.
And so that was, for me, was like, one of the so I kind of forgot about this. I'd seen a picture. So we had like a picture, like a paper picture, like how we used to do. I saw one, like it had come out somewhere because one of my kids had gotten into a box or whatever. And I saw a picture of like me holding my wife, and I saw her face. And I remember thinking, like, I haven't seen that look in a long time. And that was like a big part of it, was like that look on her face. I haven't seen that. Why? And so I had to kind of reflect on who I was when we were dating. And it's like, she was getting my best then. And now she's probably getting, she's getting my leftovers.
Yeah.
Is that what I want?
So was it work that was causing you to would you say slack, or was it the
it's just like you go from your dating, right? So there's no pressure, right? Like there's no real responsibility. Like she lives in her house, you live in your house, you got your parents. So like when you see each other, it's like, yeah. But now it's like, yo, we got mortgages, we got sick kids. It's like, yo, I got to go to work. I hate my job. You got to go do this thing over here. I'm grumpy. And it's just like, wait a minute. But like, you got what you wanted though. The main thing that you wanted, you got it. All this other stuff is irrelevant. And then part of it too was just like the seasons, like like we're going back to like having kids, like going from the first kid was hard because you don't know anything. The second kid was hard because it was like, it wasn't double the work, it was like 6 times the work, and nobody told me that it was like going from 1 to 2 is not 1 + 1, it's like 1 + 100. Like you're just like, what the heck? And then on top of it, it's like every kid has a different temperament. So like our first was easy, and the second was a boy, and it's like, that they were crying. And then we added the third, who was hard because he had a hard time sleeping. He had health issues. We didn't know it. So like you just keep on adding this stuff. So it's like, where the hell is the romance? Where's the sex at? And it's like, dude, like she's exhausted. Like she's not gonna be all lovey-dovey when you guys first got married, because it's like before it was just like, yo, it's just you two, so you can just smash whenever. It was like, yo, like, all right, cool. But now you got the kids are around, you got to work around that. You're trying to sneak around, trying to have sex and stuff like that. Or it's just like, she's tired. Like she's like, dude, like my wife breastfed. It's like, dude, I got kids all over me all day. And then you're not giving me the best effort. And then that night you just like, all right, let's go. Come on, man. Like if you were dating, you would be like, yo, this guy is retarded. Like you just show up to the date, like you pay, you don't talk, and then you just be like, yo, like we're going home and smash. You'd be like, well, this guy has no game at all. What is he thinking?
Like, what is he thinking? Because guys, we can just flip the switch and like, all right, I'm horny. But like women, now you got to prime the pump. If you're not willing to prime the pump, it won't start.
You gotta think like, yo, like so think about like the best times you ever had sex is like, where, like, especially when you had kids, where was it? Oh, you probably went to a hotel, you probably had a nice date, you went into a concert, you did something, you did a nice dinner, you got dressed up, you got your hair cut, you were clean. So then when you get to the hotel, it's like, yo, it's on, son. Why? Because it's out of the environment. There's like, she's not mom. She's like, she's your wife, and you treated her like your wife. Is like, oh, let's go. So then you're like, oh, well, why were you? Why was it on at the hotel? But then we can't do that here at the house. It's like, bro, you ain't doing the same things that you were doing for the whole. You ain't doing the same. It's not the same level of effort.
Yeah, you got to put in the work.
So the wife asexual thing to me was, a lot of it was just like, yo, give that effort like when you were
Yeah.
dating. Be that enamored with her, where it's like, yo, I can't get enough of you. Like let
Mhm.
her know that, yeah, like that you're still, whatever it was that you did when you were dating, that effort that you put in, that's still there. And I think
Yeah.
it actually means more like later on, because like, yo, I'm still chasing you like I'm a teenage boy.
Yeah.
Like sometimes she's like, yo, sometimes you're too much. Yeah, but I want you to know. Like, I
Yeah.
want you to know. I don't ever want you to question like what you mean to me.
Yeah.
Because I would be devastated if if I was if I was on trial, and it's like, can you convict me for loving my wife? It's like, oh, we don't have enough evidence, sir. Like, dude, yeah, that's got to be so depressing. It's like, no, I
Bro,
want this
that
to be a
break my
slam
heart.
dunk case. Yeah,
I'm like, hang me, take me outside, execute me. I don't
yeah.
I don't want to deal
I
with this no
failed. I failed.
more. Man. What I want you to brag on your wife because 6 kids, dealing with the loss. She seems like a very strong woman. Would you
Hmm.
brag on your wife a bit? Just tell us.
So my wife, obviously, she was beautiful.
Mhm.
Like I was never like a player, like I didn't even try to be, but I saw her and it was just like, I've never seen anybody like you before. I have to find out about you. And like I'm an introvert shy kid, but I saw her, like,
Yeah.
my gosh, she's beautiful. Um and she was a dancer, like a ballet dancer, and I loved that about her, cuz like she had her own thing, but also
Mm.
she like worked hard at it cuz she wanted to
Yeah.
be good. And um she always like wanted that, and that was kind of me, because I was kind of a grinder too. Like I wasn't like super talented, and so I recognized about her was that she would just also kind of grind. And I
Mhm.
felt that whatever I did in life, like I wanted somebody like her, because she would work hard too. So I don't know if I told it on the podcast or before the podcast, but like she got sick this week. And like for her to say that she's not feeling good, to come home, because I was out, like it's like,
Yeah.
oh, she's really not feeling sick. So there was never like any kind of like um mailing it in on her. Like
Yeah.
she would push through, and like this was evident. Now, okay, so this is probably like my favorite story about my wife. Okay, so, and this I knew I wanted to marry her, but this was the moment or the time when I was like, I knew I wanted to marry you, and now I'm never leaving you.
Yeah.
So I had a family member in the hospital, and we were there for weeks. So she was long distance. So she was in Northern California. So I'd be in the hospital. She would work throughout the whole week. She was working like two jobs, and she was going to school, and she was dancing. So she had a full plate. She would wrap up whatever she was doing on like a Friday, and then drive down to LA to be with me and sit in the hospital with me.
Mm.
And then she would also like go to my house and like straighten up the house a little bit, and like cook us food, because it was like,
Mm.
family, a close family member that we had. And
Yeah.
so she would do those things, and she did that for like multiple weeks at a time. And it was just like, marriage is not the freaky sex, it's not the vacations, it's people in the hospital, it's funerals, weddings, it's all those things, right?
Yeah.
But to me, it was like, if this is how she is when this sucks, because like, what is it? What's that? Who's that Can You Stand the Rain song? Who's that? Who's that? I'm drawing a blank.
Was that
Sunny's
Sunny
New Edition.
Days? Yeah,
New
yeah,
Edition.
yeah.
Right? Like everybody,
Yeah.
everybody can do the sunny days, right? Everybody loves
Mhm.
sunny days. But like, can you stand the rain? Like that's an actual
Mhm.
thing. Like, so here it was like, why would you want to why would you want to come down and be with me and sit with me in a hospital? Like
Yeah.
that's not nobody's ideal. Like, what'd you do this weekend? Like, you got anything fun going on? It's like, I'm gonna go sit with my boyfriend in the hospital.
Yeah. That you had to drive hours to get to.
Now you get to
It's not.
drive hours to get to. And so I don't know if you're familiar, but like driving into LA when there's traffic sucks.
I've
Like
heard.
you
I've
could
I've never
you
been out there, but
it could be like an hour to go like 5 miles. It sucks. So she would deal with all of that. So like that to me was like this to me shows her character.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of woman that I want.
Mm-hmm.
Who this is the kind of woman who I want to marry, and this is the kind of woman who I want to raise my kids.
Yeah.
So like when I tell my kids all the time, I found the most beautiful, the bestest mommy, and this is who you got. So don't just be good to mommy because you have it like nobody else does.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing too is like I noticed that once our 6 was born, she was actually more patient. And I was like, how how did you like get more patience? She was like, I don't know, it's just like I feel like I'm more patient with the kids. Like, no, I noticed it. Like, so she's wonderful, man. Like, I can't like. So there was a man of God that kind of spoke over us, and she's like, and he was like, "You're the mother of champions," and I was like, "Yeah, that's it." Like, we're raising champion kids, and champion doesn't mean that you win. Champion is like David was a champion. Why? Because he was the one that chose to step up and fight.
Yeah,
that's the champion. So like for him to say that, and I was like, yeah, that's how I never heard it that way, but that's how I think of her. Like she's the mother of champions.
Yeah, and man, I'm telling you, like, I think more people need to hear that because, like, I see it in my wife too, and I'm like, man, I want everybody, I want everybody to have a relationship like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it ain't gonna be, but it's just like I think it's one we don't in this society we don't understand marriage correctly, and so
Mm-hmm.
that's why it's always failing. Like one thing I noticed what you said, like you were willing to sacrifice and travel, and so you set the bar by doing that. And so when the time came for her to do it, she had already seen you set the bar, so she was willing to travel for you, and she was there for you with your family and everything. Like I always tell people, man, my wife, she's been there through thick and thin. Like she's probably seen me cry more, other than my mom. She's probably seen me cry more than anybody else. Probably more than my friends, because just life happen.
Yeah.
Friends pass away, so she'll take time off and come to a funeral. I've had a couple buddies I grew up with, commit suicide, stuff like that. And she was always there to have a shoulder to lean on.
Were you always a believer?
I thought I was until like around. I was one of those ones that I went to church. My dad made me get baptized. I'm believing
osmosis
until what was that, 24? Around 24, right before my son was born. And it was just like I always tell people, God comes to you where you are. If you're in the street, and I was on the internet a lot. I don't want to go into the details of everything again because it's a long story. But he basically showed me that I was not a good person. Like how how those people say, "Lord, Lord, didn't I do all these things in your name?" And he was like, "I never knew you." I realized I was in that boat, and I realized I was not righteous. I was self-righteous, and that that dug into my heart like a knife. And I tell you, for like weeks, months, I was struggling because I never had nobody tell me that, and I wasn't in church. I had nobody counseling me, and so I'm sitting there thinking like, oh man, I'm the worst sinner ever. Blah blah blah. This and that. I was like, I'm going to hell. Like I'm just being convicted by all this sin that I have been doing in my present and my past, and it's killing me. And then I watched a video from I think it was Todd Free. Was it Todd Free? I think that's his name. Do Wretched Radio, where he was talking about assurance, and because then I was beginning to read my Bible and stuff, and so once I heard him talk about assurance, it gave me confidence because I'm like, oh, these struggles that I'm having are not new. And then I think it was John Piper was like, he had said one time, he was basically like, he didn't start having doubts about God until he actually started believing. Like when I was in the Word, I was like, oh yeah, God, it says blah blah blah, this and that. But then once I became a Christian, I'm like, oh, like I'm really thinking about it, and it's like now I have to actually have proof that, like, I actually have to know why I believe what I believe. And so that's just been a journey I've been going on, and it's been not an easy one, of course, because now you Satan, he ain't gonna let you just go. without without a fight.
So let me ask you this: when you were dating did you ask have you ever asked your wife what it was about you that was attractive to her?
I don't think I actually did. I don't To tell you the truth, it's not one of those things that I haven't asked because I don't think I care. Not to say like it's like because we here now. Like
Uh huh.
it wouldn't even matter. It wouldn't it. I don't think it would matter to me
Hmm.
because we're here. Like, but I tell her she knows why I'm with her. Like
Uh huh.
I I told her God used her to save me because I if I had not been with her, I'm pretty sure I'd probably been dead or something. I was headed for destruction. You know, hedonism.
Hmm.
That was
Yeah.
my battle cry when I was thought I was saved and I wasn't. Like it was just I was just gonna seek pleasure.
Well, the thing is, it's so easy now.
Hmm.
Like, like, I think of like it's funny because well, I guess it's not funny, but
Yeah,
if I wanted to see porn as a kid, like you had to go
yeah,
find it.
yeah. It
Like
was
you
actual
had to go,
search
yeah, you had to go search for it. You gotta had some find some magazines. Someone's
magazine.
older brother had to have some because you couldn't just
Hmm.
go to the store and like buy it. They're like,
No.
"Yo, kid, get out of here." And if you wanted to go to the movies, like Blockbuster didn't have porn. Like you had to go to like the little corner
Hmm.
video store, and this even then this it was behind the curtain, so it was like, "Go kid, get your ass out of here! Like
Yeah,
you don't belong here." Now, like you just go on Elon's Twitter and it's like, "Yo, like so
yeah,
it's crazy." But so I'll go back to like my wife because I asked her like, what was it about me, and like she was like, you were just good, and I
yeah,
attributed that back. I think the kingdom is an advantage in the marketplace, like. I was attracted to my wife, but like she wasn't the end all be all. Like she knew that I was submitted to God. Like
yeah,
that was like, and I think like of marriages, a lot of these guys will think that like married guys are simps because it's like they put their wife number one,
mm,
which is not correct. Like your wife does not come before God. My wife
yeah,
does not come before God. God comes first. And
yes,
because of that, because I've always been that way too, or that was always my intent, then she trusts me when like so one time I bought a house and I just called her up and I was like, "Yo, babe, I just bought a house. So we're gonna be moving." She was like, okay." Like, and I was like, "I hope you like." And I obviously like I bought it for us so we could
yeah, yeah,
do it. And I wanted her to like it.
yeah,
But it was like what like we needed to do at the time. And she was like, Yeah, okay." Like, so I was like, "Yeah, can you want to come and see it?" But she was like, she there was no like fear for her because she knew she could trust me. Why?
yeah,
Because I had always shown myself to be, you
yeah.
know, most part faithful.
Your
And I
track
and I
record
and I
was good.
yeah, like dude, like I'm a handsome dude. I'm funny. Like, dude,
Yeah,
I'm a catch, all right?
yeah, yeah.
But I was always like I was always Heismaning hoes. So she knew that too.
Mhm,
It was like it's like,
mhm,
yo, like he that's not what he's after.
mhm.
I think that's like a that to me that's what these young guys need to hear. It's like, yo,
Mhm.
hedonism it's like the wages of sin is death. The thing
Yeah.
with when Adam ate from the fruit, he didn't die right away. It
Mhm.
like there was a spiritual death and he got kicked out of the garden, but the death didn't happen till later too.
Mhm.
Right? So we think that like, oh, you can go and sleep around with all these women and it's like there's no consequences. I don't have any STDs, there's nobody pregnant. It's like, no, like there's a
Yeah.
spiritual death that's happening there, brother. That if you continue down this like you're already there, but
Yeah.
though that price tag, that debt,
Yeah.
that's the tab, son. You're just running up the
Mhm.
tab. That
Mhm.
bill is gonna come due.
Mhm.
And so you wanna and it's not even to avoid, like, to me, avoiding it's like, it's just so much better over here.
Yes,
Like,
that's what people don't realize. It's so much better.
I never like, part of the reason I didn't go out to the club was like, yo, I got I got
Yeah.
I got a bad one right here, son. Like,
Yeah.
what you know what I mean?
Yeah. And she loves me. She ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
She used to text me for
I don't like dancing. I don't like dancing. I
mm-mm.
like dancing if I'm trying to like get a girl, like, all right, now I want to dance. Like, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
dance with my wife too, like, cause like, I know she enjoys it, but
Yeah.
like, Like, what dude is like, yeah, man, I want to go dancing. Like, no,
No,
you want to
that's
go
what
pick up
that sounds
chicks.
like. So, yeah, that was the reason. Like you said, that's the reason you were at the club. It's to find something.
Yeah, so like my buddies, like they were chasing, so I was like, yo, like that ain't fun for me. Like, I
Mm,
guess I'll go because like I said, like I'm a homebody, so I'll go to kick it.
yeah,
But like you're gonna be doing that over there. This is boring. I'm gonna spend $20 for like I don't drink anymore, but like
yeah,
I drink back then, and so
yeah.
it was like, yo, like I'm gonna spend $20 on drinks. Like, can we just get a 12 pack and split it, or whatever?
Yeah. Let's drink before we go, so that
Yeah,
way we
yeah.
are buzzed when we get
Let's. You guys want to play NCAA? Some Madden? Come on, man.
there. I'm telling you, back when I used to drink, that's why I was like, man, I most of the time I spent drinking. I went out and party, but like
Mhm.
most of my alcohol consumption was me playing Call of Duty. I'd get a bottle, set it right there beside me, and just
Uh-huh.
kill some zombies or
Yeah.
play team deathmatch for hours. And then I'm like, oh, the bottle's almost gone. The sun's coming up. All right, let me go to
Oh,
bed.
oh man, sun's up. Man,
Yeah.
that's a session, man.
Yeah, but once you're young, you like, oh, let me just get 3-4 hours of sleep,
Yeah,
man.
that is
Today,
great. That is crazy.
I'd die doing that today. I'd be out for 2 or 3 days if I tried that today.
Like I stopped drinking. Like I made the decision to stop drinking once like my first kid was born. But even
Same.
before that, I remember like I would have like one or two Bud Lights, and
Mhm.
then the next day I woke up and I would be like all like sore, like
Yeah.
almost like a mini hangover, and I'm like, what the
Mhm.
hell, like dude.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I should have just like gotten wasted because it was just like it was like I might as well like have gotten like
Yeah.
for like two, but so I was already kind of like not drinking so much already
Yeah.
because I was like feeling it. I don't know if that was because I was getting older or just like I don't know, like I can't put my finger on it, but
Yeah.
I remember that vividly. I was like, dude, these things taste like water. Like there was no,
Yeah.
but there was nothing, and it was like waking up the next morning like I had a few too many, and it was like, this
Mhm.
is stupid, man. Like, all right, man, I think
Yeah.
I'm good.
Well, I would say even before I quit drink, like it's all God time. And when I look back at it now, I remember wanting to quit drinking because I realized I was like, hey man, it's becoming too easy for me to fall into sin now that I'm drinking. Because this was a little bit
Mm,
after my conversion where I quit drinking, but
mhm,
I was already, you know, I was already calming down on the drinking, but there'd be still times where I would go, overboard.
mhm,
And I remember when she told me she was pregnant, I was at work, and well, no, wait, I quit. I was falling in sin, and I said, all right, I'm gonna quit drinking. And then so I did this thing where I like to have people around with me. So I invited people to the house, but only two of my friends showed up. We just played Call of Duty,
mhm.
uh, and we drank. And then after they left, I was like, man, it's my last day drinking, man. I would like to have my cousin Greg with me. And Greg's like, that's my dog. One day
Mhm.
maybe I'll have him on the pod. Like, he's one of my closest cousins. We've been, friends since, 2, 3, whatever, probably since birth. He's a month older than me, so he's probably since
Is
birth.
he a real cousin or a play cousin?
Nah, he's my real cousin. Like people say
Oh,
I look
okay.
like him. I don't like that comparison. Whatever, whatever. But yeah, but he was in jail. He stayed getting locked up, DUIs and stuff like that. But somehow that night he showed up at my door. I don't even remember how he knew where I lived at, but he showed up. We got to drink, and he went on about his way. I went on about my way, and I think the 2 or 3 days later, my wife sent me a text, and well, she was my wife then. We fornicated. I say that to my shame, but
Mhm.
she sent me the text, and she was like, well, no, she didn't say words. It was the pregnancy test, and I was just like, oh snap, like that's
Mm.
reality, hit. But I also was wondering. I said, darn, was God waiting for me to quit drinking before He gives me a child? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think that's kind of like what that was. It was just like He was waiting for me to drop something else. And it's a good thing because like even to this day, I haven't drank in 11 years. I think it's 11 years, and people still know me for drinking. I'm like, nah, I haven't drank it. They're like, oh boy, you still be drinking the Four Locos? I was known for Four
Oh,
Locos. I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I'm like, nah, man, I haven't had a drink in 11 years. Like, that's not the legacy I wanted to leave for my
Yeah.
kid.
Mhm.
Being a drunk, like that's not a good thing.
I think it's interesting what you said about like you drop something, but
Mhm.
then you gained, and I think that's what we think. Like let's talk about like tithing, right? Like you
Mhm.
think like I'm out 10%, I have less,
Yeah.
but it's no, like now God is going to use that 90% to go farther
Yeah.
than you could have ever imagined, and you're opening it up for blessings that you didn't even know could be coming your way. Because that's what we think of. It's like, oh, I don't want to give up this thing, like whatever it is, right? Like I don't want to give up drinking, I don't want to give up
Yeah.
having sex. Why? Because it's like, so because that's the thing too. It's like, dude, sex feels amazing. Like drinking
Mhm.
is fun. I never done
Yeah.
drugs, but I'm pretty sure it's like, yo, oh, dude, one of the scariest things I ever seen too is I remember seeing this guy was like on a subway, and like he takes a hit of like crack, and he's just like so
Yeah.
like
Out of.
euphoric, and it was just like, wow, like I never want anything to have that kind of control and that kind of power over me.
Mhm.
But it is fun. Like it like it makes sense that dudes want to smash lots of have sex with lots of
Mhm.
women, that dudes want to drink, but at what cost? Like this is
Exactly.
this is this is this is costing you, and but you don't see the price that you're paying. So y- dudes will be doing this stuff and then be like, well, how come there's no good woman? It's like, no a good woman is going to see these things and is going to be
Mhm.
repelled by you. Like,
Yeah.
so that's why I asked, like, what did your wife see in you? Because she saw something in you where like there was this ability to make this progression. Like
Hold
they
on. Let me
see
ask
that.
tomorrow. We're gonna ask her. We're gonna ask her on the pod.
Live on the podcast.
Tomorrow. If she wait a minute, what time is it? Oh, she's not here. I had to take my son to the barbershop. She's not here.
All
Wow,
right.
I forgot.
You're gonna
Man,
have to do that. You're gonna have to do a thread on this after,
yeah. Shoot, I might
or it's
a thread or I might bring my wife on it. She because her and her
yeah,
cousins
that'd
are
be
asked
good.
me.
Yeah, that'd
Yeah,
be good.
I'll bring her on here one time. There's people in my life that have asked me that I want to have them on here, and there's other people that just want to be on the podcast. I'm just like in my head, I'm just thinking what I don't know at the time what they would add to the show because I don't want to just get on here like I'm trying to feed people. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
In one, most of my guests have been Christian, but well, I've only had four. But you don't have to be a Christian to provide value. But so
Mm-mm.
I want to feel like if I want to bring people on here that can bring value. And I don't want to be contentious. I don't want to bring
Mhm.
drama, but I mean, I'm
Mm.
sure that'll happen in the future, whatever, whatever. But I don't want that to be my goal. I don't want that to be my mission. I don't want that to be what I'm known for. I just want to be a vessel. Like there's knowledge you have that you're bringing to the show that I don't have, or I'm not able to verbalize in the best way that you're able to do. And I just want to be able to use this. Wait a minute, Miley, you here? My daughter's here. It's just me and you? Oh, yeah, it's just me and my daughter.
There's you and your
I
girl. How
heard
many
she has
kids? How many kids do you have? 2 or 3?
two.
Two.
Boy,
Okay.
he's 10, and a girl, she's six. You six? I'm bad with numbers. She's
Yeah.
six. You're six, right? Yeah, she says six. They'll let you know. You might say, I remember once before my son turned 10, I was like, yeah, he's 8. And he gave me a look, and I looked at him, I was like, you're 9? He was like, yeah. I was like, crap. Because
Yeah.
you where did the time go? Could y'all see it? Come here, baby. They're my
Yeah.
they're my
Hey,
they're my female twin.
hey, mama.
Hey, he can't. All right, love you.
Sweet thing, man. They're
You
the
need anything,
best.
to let me
I
know.
love I
Yeah,
love I love I love having girls. I love having
yeah,
girls. I love having boys. Like to me,
yeah,
so, some people are girl dads that have all boys, and
yeah,
that's great. But it's like, man,
mm,
I love having both. Like
yeah.
the girls are so sweet. Even my boys are pretty sweet too. But man, I don't know. I just like having
Bring me a
all of
towel.
them.
She spilled my coffee.
Oh no.
Nah, she's sweet.
You
She's a
can't even
darling.
you
Like,
can't even get mad. You can't even get mad, right? Because she's trying to give you a hug. It's just like,
yeah.
ah.
Nah, she's sweet. She's very. She has a sacrificial heart. She has what I seen in her mom,
Mm,
with a little
yeah.
less attitude. I love you, baby. When you see this. But no, she was a deep. I wouldn't, man. I didn't know what to do at first. She was a diva. All right, thank you. I'll take care of.
Your wife or
The,
your daughter?
no, my daughter, my wife. She's
Oh,
she's cool, calm, and collected. My daughter. when she was younger, I thought she resembled my sister and my mom a bit of their personality. And she looks like mom because I say she looks like me, and I look like
Mhm,
my mom.
mhm,
But man, I think it's because I thought my daughter. I was like, oh well, we had one. She's gonna act just like the other one, but no,
mm-mm,
one she's not. And then female brains do not operate the same way male brains work
mm-mm.
too. And so it was adjusting to, oh, she has her own personality. She's not gonna be like the first one, and that's a good thing. You know what I mean? So it was just adjusting to who she is as a person, as
Yeah,
opposed to my son.
I have a daughter who like doesn't like dresses, is like very, assertive and strong, and I have another one that
Yeah,
just loves dance and dresses and frilly princesses, all that stuff.
that's her.
It's just so that's why like I actually try to give people more grace, especially like I remember thinking like before I had kids, like you see a
Yeah.
kid throw a tantrum in the store,
Hmm.
and I'd be like, man, I will never, man, like, my kid, I wish my kid would try and do something like
Yeah.
that. Like, I don't play that stuff.
Hmm.
First two kids, no issues, man. And then my third threw a tantrum in the damn store, and I was like, what the heck? It's like I raised them all the same.
Yeah.
There was no different expectation for any of them. This
Hmm.
is the expectation. This is how we act. This is how we do things. Kid threw a tantrum. Now there is someone's like, yo, like, actual bad parents, but some of it is like, yo, this kid is just gonna do what he wants to do,
Yeah.
and you just gotta be able to like help navigate them and like point them in the right direction.
Yeah.
I think so. I remember, I think it was with my first. Like I remember, like after she was born, I went and I prayed and I was like, God, this is your child. I am the caretaker. Like, just give me wisdom to raise this baby and raise the subsequent ones, because I didn't want to get attached to if like my kid was successful or
Hmm.
not successful, that somehow that reflected me. Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna have expectations, we're gonna have a culture, we're gonna pursue God, we're gonna do those things. Like, however they shake out, like, that's gonna be on them. Like,
Hmm.
I'm gonna try and provide every single opportunity, every avenue I can possibly do for
Yeah.
them to aim towards God. This is our aim. We serve God. This is what we do.
Yeah.
But it's up to them to do those things. Because I'll go back to Cain and Abel were born and raised in the same house.
Yeah.
One was faithful. One brought the offering. One did not and turned into a murderer.
Hmm.
Like, to me, that was like, yo, did they not do a good job with him?
I mean, Cain was even warned by God. He said, "Sin is basically sin is at your door."
Told them.
Like like we have the Holy Spirit warning us, like
Mhm,
in
mhm,
we have the yearnings of the Holy Spirit moving us, but like he told him to his in the
mhm.
flesh, told him to his face,
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
told him he was like, if you do what is good, it'll be accepted.
You'll be
But
good. You'll be good. He told them.
yeah,
Still,
man,
they didn't want to do it. So that was a big thing. So like we're talking about like our kids playing sports and stuff like that. Like, I want to
yeah,
give them the opportunity to do those things so they can get comfortable being uncomfortable, so they can learn those lessons, so they can like feel successful, feel what failure feels like in these places, because that's what I want them to do. Not because I'm trying to create like NFL stars or MMA champions
mhm,
or whatever. It's just like, no,
yeah,
like my goal for them is to discover who it is that God made them to be, not who I want them to be, so they can go
yeah,
ahead and do those things. And they're all different in their own ways, but we're all united in, we all love God. We all want
yeah,
to serve the kingdom. Like,
yeah,
how that shakes out, like, you might be a dancer, you might be an athlete, you might be a lawyer, you might be a teacher, however that looks, daddy loves you.
yeah. And I was just thinking when you were talking, I'm just like, man, it's because I'm thinking about how sports ties in with the life God gives us. It's about it. A thing that they have in common is being able to live for something bigger than yourself. When you're on a football team, it's bigger than you and your
Mhm,
stats. If the
mhm.
goal is to win, especially win a championship, you have to be willing to sacrifice. Like I played running back. I love running the ball, but sometimes as a running back, you have to block.
You gotta block
you
up.
have to you have to fake and be a
Get
decoy.
get
You know
that
what I
blitz
mean?
pickup, man. That ain't nothing
Yeah.
nice.
Running into that DN or that
Right.
linebacker, man, full speed. Hey, I'm telling you, I got
Mhm,
rocked. I'm only 5'8".
mhm.
So,
Coming through that A gap hard.
yeah. And so like you gotta like But then also with like coming to Christ, like you this is bigger than you. We're not living for self. We got our mission is to spread the gospel, and there's
Mhm.
gonna be tribulations in it, and you have to be willing to go up against those. And then you got to think even with the family, like with your wife, like this is gonna be times she wants you to do stuff you don't want to do,
Mhm.
but for the sake of the family, you sacrifice, and you like I said, it trickles even down to the kids. It's like
Mhm.
always doing something bigger than you. So no, go ahead, because I'm just rambling now.
No,
I'm
no.
just
Well, so when God is talking to Moses asks God, "What is your name?"
yeah,
And what does he say? He says, "I
I am that
am.
am. Yeah.
I am." So we are the men is the representation of God in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you? I am your provider. I am your
Mm-hmm.
defender. I am your healer. Whatever you need, I am.
Yep.
And that's what we are to be for our wife. What do you need, mama? You need me to
Yeah.
defend you from, you know, the so the COVID was a big eye opener because it was like I remember my wife being like, "Oh, like I feel so anxious when I'm on social media." And it's like,
Yeah.
"Okay, mama, we need to get off of social media because
Yeah.
this is making you anxious. We're not
Mm-hmm.
going to watch the news because it's making us anxious. We're just going to focus on us and what we got going
Yeah.
on." Like that's my role as a husband is to be aware of these things. Like, okay, this is how I'm going to protect her.
Mm-hmm.
Finances is a protection, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's
Yeah.
important. Like if your kid is sick and you can't pay for what they need, that's a
Mm-hmm.
problem.
Yeah.
Being able to pay for that is like it's like dudes would be like, oh, if I can like beat somebody's ass or whatever, like that's protection. Yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah.
That is part of it. So is money. So is the influences of the people who are like she's if she's got friends that are not good influences,
Mm-hmm.
you need to push them out. Those are not good influences for your family. That is
Yeah.
protection. Cultivating her. She has goals and dreams. Does she want to go back to school? Does she have goals and desires to do certain things? How are
Mm-hmm.
you as a man cultivating her? Like
Mm-hmm.
you are that.
Yeah.
My kids, they need love. I
Mm-hmm.
give you love. You need
Yeah.
hugs. I give you hugs. You need discipline. I give you discipline.
Mm-hmm.
All those things. And so it's like I think like, oh, it's not easy to be a man, but
Yeah.
that's what you are. So like
Exactly.
an eagle doesn't complain about flying because
Mm-mm.
that's what they were made for. We were
Exactly.
made for the responsibility of being a man.
Yeah.
So just embrace it. Like, yo, like sometimes it's like, is it easy to be a man? It's like, nah. But would you rather be in, I don't know, a bird? Like, so
Yeah.
one time I did go hunting. I'm a city kid, so I went hunting one time here in the desert, and there's like jackrabbits running around, and they go
Mm-hmm.
into little holes. And this was the first time I ever seen a rattlesnake come out, and I was like, oh shit, like rattle, like
Yeah.
I was gonna shoot him, like I was like, oh. And then I was thinking about it, it's like, dude, this rabbit has to run around all day, look for food.
Mm-hmm.
He's like twitching and stuff like that. And then he goes into his burrow, and then he has to worry about a rattlesnake coming
Right.
into his burrow. And I was like, damn,
Yeah.
that actually seems hard. Being a rabbit seems like hard work. I'd rather be a man.
Yeah. It's funny. I had that same thought this week, but it
What
was
was
about a
it?
bird. It was a bird, and I was like,
Yeah.
man, I was like, man, you gotta be scared and on alert all the time. I was like, I
Mhm.
want to be a bird. So that's
Yeah, you see
weird that
them.
you bring that up when I had that
You
thought this
see
week.
them like that, like their heads are like turned around, like
Yeah,
constantly, like yo, head on a swivel. You got to worry about a hawk coming down. Like
yeah.
like you got to go find a worm. Like, dude, there's all kinds of like, dude, that seems hard. Like, I'd rather
This
be
is
a man.
kind.
I'm go to work.
This is kind of off topic, but it's on topic because I was wondering. I've been watching videos on like IG and TikTok where animals will be in trouble and they'll come to humans, and I'm like, how do they know? Like, is it something that because we're supposed to be the stewards of the earth? Everything's supposed to be under
Dominion.
our dominion, and I'm like, did God put that on their heart? Like to come to us like, hey, you out of options, go to the humans. Like it was the one with a hawk, it was one with a seal, one with a deer. Like they'll be in distress and they're like, all right, I can't go to my hawk friends. I'm gonna go to this human, which I don't go near at any other time because I'm in danger. And it's just fascinating to see and to think about. Under the lens of the Bible, like I understand, like,
Mhm,
oh, we're supposed to have dominion over that. Because I was
mhm.
even watching a guy swimming with a crocodile. I'm like, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But we're supposed to have dominion over them as well.
Mhm.
So it's just fascinating when I think about stuff like that.
Yeah, the Bible is crazy. Like people
Yeah.
understand how crazy the Bible is. Like so, like people were like, "Oh, Game of Thrones is crazy." Like, dude, the Bible is like the original Game of Thrones. Like, if you
Yeah.
go and you read, like the stories in there are insane. Like
Hmm.
there was an assassin who went and stabbed a dude who was so fat that the knife
Yeah.
got stuck in his belly, and they
Mhm.
didn't know like that he was dead because he was just so fat. I was like, "Yo, this
Yeah.
is nuts!
Yeah.
This is nuts!"
I'm gonna tell you when I first read the Bible, my friend when I first got converted, my friend Ray, who he was already Christian, he was telling me, I was like, all right, I want to read about what I read, and he told me, and I was reading Genesis. So this is stuff they don't really cover in a lot of churches. I get to the part where I think there was a couple before this because I'm like, wait a minute, these guys are marrying their sisters, but it was the lot part. I was wait a minute,
Oh yeah.
his daughters. And he was like, yeah, yeah. You got to think they're recording history. They're not hiding anything. That's why
Mhm.
when people tell me they're like, the Bible's boring, I was like, you didn't read it. You have not
Mhm.
read the Bible if you think that is boring. Of course, there's some parts that I do think I'm like, all right, let me just dig in and read through this. Like I think it's Leviticus. Where I'm like, man, I can't even remember all these details.
Yeah. Oh, I
But
think that's who is I think it might be Chronicles because it's like
oh, Chronicles, yeah,
Esat begat.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
that goes back to the names though. So if you understand what the names of the of those people are, then that's telling you the story of like
yeah,
so it's like, oh, you say Judah means praise, so
yeah.
begat, praise begats,
Hmm.
like so that's how so, but it's just if you don't have that frame of reference, which I haven't gone back and read it that way because it's
Yeah,
just like that's pretty time consuming. I don't have that
yeah,
kind of time right now. But
yeah,
like somebody explained that to me too, and that's why naming to me was so important, was because like
yeah.
that's like I'm speaking this into my kids. So this is very important to me. But
I,
Chronicles was always like that.
yeah.
Like can we skip this one? This is boring.
I'll tell you a cool story that I heard from I think it was an evangelist. He was the missionary work, and he was with this tribe somewhere, and he was having trouble getting through to them. Like they learned the language, but when he was preaching the gospel, he's talking about Jesus. They just were not. It wasn't resonating with him like he thought it would. And then I think he said when it got to the genealogies, he was telling them the genealogies, and that's when it clicked in those people because they're big on um not heredity. Is that heredity? It's the word big on like families and stuff and
Of
keeping the lineage.
the genealogy.
Genealogy. So they're
Yeah,
big on
yeah.
genealogy. Their culture was big on genealogy. And then I think he
Mhm.
said the guy, the chief, was like, why didn't you tell us this before? Because nobody would write this just to write this. You don't
Uh-huh.
just make this type of stuff up. And so I think some of it is just a culture thing. Like God knows what's gonna resonate with different cultures, different worlds. So he's gonna put that all together. And if the gospel is presented, through the sacrifice of Christ, and if you can't understand that, then he'll give you the genealogies, or he'll give
Yeah.
you Genesis and teach you about Noah, because then you'll be like, oh wait, our culture has a flood story, or just
Mhm.
it's different stuff for different folks that all comes together in one
I think
book
that's why I think that's why people
collectively.
like need to speak to their audience, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
I remember like they when I was at a church, they asked me to be the youth pastor, and I was like, I don't want to be the youth pastor. I don't want to talk to those kids. I'd rather
Yeah.
coach football. So
Hmm.
that was where I would pray for kids on the field. I would talk to them. Like that was because those were like my people. I understand them.
Yeah.
I don't understand these kids who's gonna come on a Saturday night to a youth. Like I didn't do that. I would have thought it was boring. Like these are like
Hmm.
nerd kids. Like, well, you got nothing else to do on a Saturday? But come here. Like I don't want to. Or it's like parents who drop their kids off because they don't have nothing else to do, or like they don't want to
Hmm.
be there. It's like my parents made me come here. Like at
Yeah.
football, it was like you want to be here. You
Hmm.
want to be here. You can do all this. Like all right, cool. Like that to me is like a big thing. Like you want to be here. So now we have this thing in common. So I think like I think that's why Twitter's pretty special that way. It's like you can kind of talk to people who resonate with you, or like, oh, these are
Hmm.
kind of my people, right? I found you, like you're one of my favorite people. Like you were like the funniest people I found. Like I love funny people, right?
Yeah.
Like I like dudes who I can like joke with and bust balls with,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
also like have these conversations. Like, well, we could talk about God. Like, yo, that to me is amazing because it's like
Mhm.
there was a lot of like people in church who you couldn't have those conversations with. It was like always super spiritual. So it was like super spiritual at church, and it was like, okay, cool, but like, for lack of a better word, like you're kind of soft, right? Like you're not that.
Yeah.
But then like then you go to the locker room, it's like, oh, these guys are fun. Like they'll bust my balls and I'll bust them back. But then it was like,
Yeah.
you know, people respected me because I was a Christian, because I was always that. But it was like, you know, it's a different crowd, and so it's like I feel like if you can do like both of them, to me was like perfect. Like,
Yeah, you be all things, all men.
yeah,
Like we were ordered to be.
yeah.
Because like even my friends now, I still got some friends, you know, out in the world. You know, we grew up together. I don't hang
Mhm.
around them as much because we just got different goals. We just do
Mhm.
different things now in life.
Well, plus you're a family man now too. So it's
Yeah.
different.
But they even now, like I don't. They know where I stand on things, and they
Mhm.
know what I do, what I don't do. But
Mhm.
there's things they'll change around me. Like we'll be talking and they'll cuss, and then they're like, "My bad, bro." And I'm like, "You like, why you apologizing to me?" It's because they respect me, and it's not, and I don't have to, you know, I don't have to berate them with the Bible, even though I
Mhm.
will share Bible. You know, I'm
Mhm.
like, because that's where I'm
Yeah.
getting my wisdom
Yeah.
from. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, I
Yeah.
got this nugget of wisdom. Let me tell you what the Bible says about this. Boom.
Mhm.
And then,
Mhm.
but you got, and then I'm gonna be willing to listen to them too. It can't just be me doing all the talking.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, like, there's you'll learn some stuff from your boys too. Like
Hmm.
there's nothing wasted. You just pay attention. Like you learn
Hmm.
stuff. Like, oh, that's a what not to do. Like, all right, cool.
Hmm.
Oh, he actually did this thing and it like worked out for him. Like, all right, like there's a boldness for people who like are not believers that believers don't have that we actually need to have.
Hmm.
Right? Like you some people like like people can be gay and proud and then be out there and bold, but then
Yeah,
you'll be afraid to pray for somebody.
yeah.
Right? Like
It doesn't make any sense.
this dude is over here walking around half naked in the street, like not a care in the world. He's standing on business, but then this person over here just told you he had cancer and you're not going to pray for him because
Mhm.
you're afraid what other people think.
Yeah,
Oh, really? Maybe you could learn some about boldness from them.
yeah. I tell you who it's because I'm not a real vocal person. Like when I first came to Christ, I tell you who Ray Comfort. Ray Comfort was a big influence on me. But I was like, darn, do I got to go out the street preach? Do I have to do all this?
Mhm.
But I realized I don't have to do what he does. You know,
Mhm.
we all, some of us are the feet, some of us are the eyes. But I just got to be willing to be brave in what God's called me to do, which is this thing right here that
Mhm.
I've been running from. I might not be able to share the gospel with randoms on the street. I do. I have run into times where you know you do that, but I'm
Mhm.
not. That's not my mission when I hit the street.
Yeah, I've never street preached, and
Yeah,
I don't plan on it but to me
yeah,
that was something that like, oh, through Twitter, like, oh, I could connect that way and just save my beliefs.
exactly.
But then like if you know in a time like that, like yeah, I have prayed for people because it's like, yo, like, you know, do you is this something where you're just you're self-conscious and this is really a you thing where I was like, you know, God put you here for a moment.
Hmm.
Are you going to be obedient? Obedience is greater than sacrifice. And the thing is, it's like
Yeah,
if I pray for somebody to heal cancer, it's not me healing cancer. That's like that's
exactly,
on God. That's on
exactly.
God. Like, yo, God, you said this. Okay, I believe it.
Hmm.
I'm gonna do this in faith.
Yeah.
So I gotta hop here pretty soon, brother.
All right. Is let's tell them where they can find you. Tell them where they can find you.
So my main you can mainly find me on Twitter at the Joel Lopez. I'm kind of becoming more active on Instagram, same handle at the Joel Lopez. But if you go on Twitter or Instagram, you can go ahead and download the 5 pillars, which I had discussed on this show. If you like that, it goes into a little bit more detail. So you can download that. I think every man needs to know those. I wish I had known them years ago. They would have saved me a lot of heartache and a
Mhm.
lot of pain if I had just known those things first. So I think these are fundamental to like what is a man. I believe it's those 5 pillars.
Yeah. So is there any last words you would like to if these are your last words on earth and you wanted the world to hear this, what would it be?
Man.
I don't even know where that question came from, but it sounds good.
Yeah, it does sound good. My last words. God is good. That's it.
God is good.
God
Amen.
is
And
good.
all the time.
On the top, all the time, on the top of the mountain, on the valley, God is good. Always, God is good. You know what? This I actually thought about this. Is like if on the top of the mountain, I want to be saying hallelujah. If life was squeezing me and squeezing the breath out of me, I want the last thing to come out of my mouth to be hallelujah. I love that word.
Yeah. Amen to that, man. Amen to that.
Amen.
Well, all right, man. It was great having you, man.
I appreciate it, man. I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time, man.
Hey, no problem. Hey, I might have to have you again. Was that cool?
Yeah, please.
All right,
Holla
man.
at me.
You have a good one.
All right, you too, man. Take care.
Take it easy.